Here we go. Let's go over the movie cube. The film drops us into an industrial nightmare with almost no context, just hissing air, hollow echoes, and the heavy slide of mechanical doors. Even before we meet anyone properly, the sound design sells the idea that this is a machine-built prison that does not care who is inside it. The first real human moment is pure panic, with people calling out and colliding in the cramped space like animals in a trap. One survivor tries to calm a terrified woman, but nobody can explain what the previous room contained or why it was so frightening. The tone is set immediately, fear spreads faster than information, and every doorway might be a death sentence. As more of the group comes into focus, the central rule arrives. There are traps, and wandering blindly will get them killed. They describe a room where something nearly took a head off, turning the cube from a mystery into a deliberate killing structure. From this point on, survival depends on procedure, not bravery. They compare blank memories of how they got here, and that shared confusion becomes their only common ground. Quentin pushes the group toward action and control, presenting himself as the one who will lead them out. The plan becomes pragmatic and grim. Test rooms with a thrown boot, and keep moving until something breaks in their favor. Once they start moving, the cube reveals its scale and its cruelty through details like serial numbers etched into each room. The numbers are different everywhere, suggesting either a map or a code, but the sheer magnitude is demoralizing. Holloway reminds them that the real enemy is time, because dehydration and exhaustion will kill them even if the traps do not. A new trap type appears, and it is smarter than a simple pressure plate or tripwire. The group learns the cube can detect biological signals, which means it is designed to discriminate between a living person and a tossed object. At the same time, tensions rise as Renz is revealed to be an infamous escape artist, making him both valuable and deeply suspicious to the others. Renz hits a trigger, and the cube responds with the cold logic of an automated execution. The beeps and screams are prolonged enough to force everyone else to watch and listen, turning the death into a lesson and a warning. When it is over, the group loses not just a member, but the comforting fantasy that expertise guarantees survival. In the aftermath, the survivors try to build meaning out of randomness, asking why a cop, a doctor, and an escape expert would be gathered in one place. Quentin pushes a narrow tactical mindset, insisting they should only focus on what is directly in front of them. Holloway argues the opposite, that understanding the system matters, because the cube feels designed to test people, not just kill them. They interrogate each other's identities and motivations, and the cube becomes a pressure chamber for personality. Quentin frames himself as a father with something to return to, using that as justification for hard choices and authority. Holloway's anger sharpens into a demand for accountability, insisting someone did this to them and that the answer matters. A small observation becomes the first real breakthrough when Levin's math background clicks with the room markings. She proposes a working rule. Rooms with prime number identifiers correlate with traps, and the group begins to test the theory. The moment it works, morale surges and they almost celebrate, which is exactly the kind of relief a place like this is designed to punish later. Their forward momentum breaks when a door jams and chaos introduces a new variable. Kazan, a frightened man with cognitive disabilities. The group's reaction exposes their character because some see him as a burden, while Holloway immediately treats him like a human being who needs protection. Even when Kazan seems harmless, the cube weaponizes uncertainty by making every new person feel like a possible trap. The conversation turns political and philosophical, with Holloway framing the cube as the kind of monstrous project only massive institutions could fund. Worth counters with a bleakly believable idea. Big horrors can come from mundane bureaucracy, not masterminds, just disconnected workers doing small jobs. The cube then interrupts theory with reality again, as a gas incident and choking panic remind them that debate does not stop the machine. A trap goes off even when the numbers don't seem to fit the old rule, and that failure cracks their confidence. Quentin uses the confusion as fuel, redirecting fear into suspicion and accusing Worth of knowing more than he admits. The group starts splitting into factions, which is exactly how enclosed survival scenarios turn deadly. The maze is bad, but mistrust is worse. As exhaustion sets in, civility collapses into open contempt and power plays. Quentin bullies Worth for being cynical, but Worth's cynicism is also the most honest emotion in the room. because he cannot pretend the system cares about them. The argument crescendos into the terrifying claim that there may be no exit at all, and that idea infects everyone like poison. Pressed hard, Worth admits a devastating truth. He helped design the cube's outer shell, even if he insists he didn't understand its purpose. Holloway hears conspiracy, but Worth describes something more nihilistic. A project built by compartmentalized labor where nobody is truly in charge. The film's horror shifts here from physical traps to institutional indifference, because the cube becomes a monument to pointless systems that keep running simply because they exist. Levin tries to turn their despair into a solvable problem by translating the numbers into geometry. With Worth's details about the cube's dimensions, she estimates the true size and realizes the markings can function like Cartesian coordinates. For the first time in a long stretch, the group has direction instead of hope. And that difference matters because direction can be tested. The new coordinate logic reveals a brutal twist. The edge is effectively guarded, and some rooms near it are ringed with sound-activated traps. Quentin argues for crossing anyway and starts treating people like tools, even suggesting abandoning Kazan to reduce risk. Holloway calls the group out for what they are becoming, framing the moral erosion as part of the cube's design, not just a side effect. Quentin's leadership fully curdles into aggression, and he frames cruelty as law of the jungle survival logic. Holloway challenges him directly, and the confrontation exposes how much of his authority is just rage and entitlement. By now, the cube is not only sorting who is smart enough to read clues, but who is willing to dehumanize others to keep moving. They finally reach a threshold that feels different, an outer shell void that forces them to improvise with a rope made of clothing. Holloway insists on taking the risk, and the group's physical survival literally depends on trust and teamwork in that moment. When she slips and Quentin controls the line, the scene plays like a turning point where the maze stops being the main threat and one of the survivors becomes it. After Holloway is gone, Quentin tightens his grip on Levin and Worth, talking like the cube has chosen roles and that he alone understands the purpose. Worth realizes they have been looping, and Levin pushes further, deducing that the rooms themselves shift over time. So the map is dynamic, and the exit only aligns during a brief window. The final stretch becomes a race to a bridge room, with Kazan unexpectedly providing crucial math insights by counting factors to identify safe rooms. Quentin's violence and paranoia finally backfire, and he is effectively removed by the cube's own logic, while the remaining survivors force their way to the last door. The ending lands with Kazan stepping into the bright light outside, a small escape from an enormous machine that never bothers to explain why it existed in the first place.